Good morning. Good morning and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Society of Bangor. My name is Reverend Drew Moeller and I use he, him pronouns. Welcome everyone to our service this morning and to those who are present here in the sanctuary and to those who are joining us on Zoom. It is great to have you this morning. And how many people looked out the window this morning and weren't sure if they wanted to get up and go to church? Be honest now. But we are blessed with wonderful change of season and weather, and we are glad that you made the trip out this morning to be here, and hopefully if you're home, you're enjoying the service from the comfort of wherever you are enjoying it from. Before we get into our announcements, I just want to welcome anybody who is joining us today for the first time, and or if it's been a little while. And right after the announcements, we'll provide an opportunity for people to introduce themselves if they feel so moved. This is voluntary, but we always like to welcome visitors in our midst. So we'll make sure that we do that after the announcements. In a moment, I'm going to have Sue come up and offer some of our announcements, but I have two really quick announcements that I want to share. First, Thanksgiving Day, noon, Pat and I are hosting a Thanksgiving dinner for anybody who wants to come and hang out with us. We'll have a puzzle going and some other activities. There's a sign-up sheet now out in the Dorothy, right by the kitchen door. So please sign up. Where? A little farther to the right. Okay. It's green. It's a nice green sheet. You can see it very easily. But please sign up. I'd like to have people sign up by next Sunday so I know how big a turkey or turkeys I need to get. The second thing is that on December 7th, we have the annual meeting after church, but I want people to also focus on coming on December 7th for the service, because Camden and I are working on an all-congregation worship service. So something for young and old. It's going to be interactive. It's going to be a lot of fun. And we'd hate for you to miss that and come to the annual meeting and hear about all this wonderful service that you missed. So please mark your calendars and readjust things if you need to be here. Sue, what else is going on?
Good morning. So inside your order of service, there's a list of the real prominent ones that are upcoming. Again, that congregational meeting on December 7th. The holiday wreath sale. Hannah is not here today. So if you want to pre-order a wreath, you can email her. The email addresses are no longer in the order of service so that people don't get email bombed. But you can get a hold of her or you can get a hold of me. Most people know how to get a hold of me at the very least. The pickup will be on December 6th, and then any we have left over will be for sale before the service on December 7th. Gift basket auction, photos of baskets and contents are due November 1. If you're not familiar with our annual holiday basket sale, it happens on Zoom on December 12th at 7 p.m. It is so much fun, and these baskets are great holiday gifts. Charleston Times submission is November 20th, and the UUSB Open Mic Night returns, courtesy of Joe Z saying, "We gotta have music." It starts on Wednesday, December 3rd, 7 p.m. down in the vestry. Just come in the lower door, and if you want to talk to Joe about what you might want to do, Joe, raise your hand. There we go. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue, for those enthusiastic announcements. As we promised earlier, if you are visiting today and would like to introduce yourself, or again, if it's been a little while and you'd like to reintroduce yourself, just raise your hand and Phyllis will be glad to bring a microphone to you. Just saying your name and maybe what brought you in this morning, that's all that you need to say. Nothing, no big speeches or anything like that. All right, great.
Oh, yes, you do.
Good morning. Corey Kavanaugh. This is my second day coming here, so I figured now is the appropriate time to introduce myself. I'm just here for the welcoming community mostly, I think, which sums it all up. And eager to be here more often.
Thank you.
Welcome. Anyone else? No? Okay. So let us take a moment to gather ourselves as we prepare to enter into our time of worship. Today I will offer a centering called Everyday Blessings. We come into this space, this hallowed hour, made sacred by our presence and intention here. We come with deep gratitude for everyday blessings, for the dependable changing of the seasons as they follow one into another, for smiles and waves and spoken greetings, for being with each other in worship, for babies and puppies and kittens, and wisdom from the old and the young. These are everyday blessings that sustain us every day.
And mahalo right back at you, Sojourner. That was lovely. Lighting our chalice and our lotus candle today will be Patty Alcott. I'm going to do the chalice reading, so if you would stay up after you do both of those lightings, Drew will do the lotus candle. Miracles in Mundane Moments by Reverend Michelle Collins. We light this chalice for eyes that see miracles in mundane moments. May this flame remind us that gratitude grows not through waiting for extraordinary gifts, but through the noticing the ordinary blessings surrounding us daily.
Today I also would like to light our lotus candle in honor of Transgender Day of Remembrance, which is November 20th. And I have a little reading to offer by Laura Conkle. We remember our trans siblings stolen from us this year. We love and remember all our transcestors stolen from us throughout time and space. Our hearts continue to be broken. May we find the care in our community to keep grieving and keeping their memories alive. We pray, life, soul, love. We call out to you in grief and outrage. We call out to you in our terror and our exhaustion. Please help us gather ourselves together and to each other. Give us strength, give us comfort, give us care, and let us continue to support our transgender siblings who are alive today. Blessed be. I now invite you to join in singing our opening hymn, 126, Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing. I'd like to invite our young folks of all ages to come on down for our time for all ages. All right, there's some energy. I love it. So a lot of our young people today are over at Food and Medicine doing making solidarity harvest baskets to distribute. I think they have just under 2,000 baskets that they're going to distribute this year. So that's why we've got a little smaller group than normal. So this month, we've been talking about gratitude. We're talking about gratitude as kind of a spiritual practice. And the story that I'm going to tell you right now, I really like a lot, because a lot of times when we think about talking about gratitude, we talk about being grateful for these big, huge, amazing things. And sometimes it's also good, I think actually often, it's important to be thankful for the little things in life, the simpler things that help sustain us. So this story starts in a classroom where the teacher, Mrs. Klein, is working with her first graders and giving them instructions on drawing a picture of something of which they are thankful for. She taught these young children who lived in kind of a deteriorating neighborhood, and she wondered how much these young people really had to be thankful for. She knew that most of the class would draw pictures of turkeys or bountifully laden Thanksgiving tables because they believed that's what was expected of them. What took Mrs. Klein by surprise was Douglas's picture. Douglas was so sad and forlorn. He often followed her around the school, especially during recess. He would always hang out with her. But she was kind of surprised because Douglas's drawing was really different from the other kids. It was really, really simple. The picture was a picture of a hand, kind of like this big, huge hand that we saw behind us. The whole class was captivated by this picture. Whose hand was it? The teacher asked the class. The hand is obviously I think the hand must be the hand of God, one student said. A farmer, said the other, because they grow turkeys and the hand looks a little bit like a turkey, right? Another person said, oh, no, I'm sure it's the hand of a policeman who's kind of holding up hand to kind of stop to let other people pass. I think, said Lavinia, who was always very serious, that it's supposed to be the hands of all the people who help us. But Douglas only had time to draw one hand. Mrs. Klein had listened to all of the children, and they kind of went on to their next activity. But all of a sudden, she realized that almost everyone in the class had an answer for what that hand was, except for Douglas. She thought. So she walked over to Douglas while he was working on his next assignment, and she said to him, whose hand was that you drew? And he kind of looked up at her shyly and mumbled, Teacher, it's your hand. Mrs. Klein recalled how many days when Douglas was agitated or worked up that she offered her hand to him, and he took it and followed her around for the rest of the day. And that is our story. I was wondering what our young people think of that. Are there things that you have, like simple things every day that you might be grateful for? Yeah. Are you grateful for mommy? That's what that looks like to me. That hug says more than words. Yeah. Does anybody else have any things that they are grateful for? Like everyday, simple things.
I have 2 sweet female cats, Annie and Vivian.
Pets. Yeah, cats. Anyone else? I'll take 2 more. Anybody? A vehicle. Yeah, we take that for granted a lot, right? But having a vehicle so you don't have to walk through the slush and snow. Bruce. Waking up in the morning and just being able to look out and say, another day is there. Yeah, ready to greet you. Great. Well, that is our story time for the morning. And today, I think the words that we have on the screen say, "Go now in peace," but because we're all staying up here today, let's try to add, "Stay here in peace," and everywhere, so everywhere, here with us today. Okay, thank you. Dear friends, please join me in a spirit of meditation and prayer. Great universal spirit, interconnected web of which we are a part, we hold these joys and sorrows within this community in all of our hearts and all of our prayers. Today we hold in sadness the loss of Jeff Rampey and Glenn and his family. We also hold in our hearts people in our community who are infirm or sick, people who have broken bones and are recovering. Spirit, we also hold in our hearts some of the joys of our existence, of coming together and gathering large quantities of food to support people who have been struggling with the SNAP cutbacks. And for children who remember to call their mom and say hello and check in. And for all of our trans siblings who are well. And we also hold prayers for those who are still struggling and looking for a safe place to be. May they find people around them to support them and love them for who they are. Spirit, we gather in this time and place because we know that each life tells an important story and each life holds a deep and abiding truth. By coming together and sharing these joys and sorrows with each other, we grow closer to each other and we grow closer to becoming one. Blessed be. Amen.
Our congregation's spiritual practice of generosity extends beyond these walls. Each week, we share our plate collections with organizations that reflect our UU values, making a tangible impact in the world outside. This month, we are proud to share half of our plate collection with the Mabel Wadsworth Center, an organization that shares many of our UU values. The center is an independent, feminist model healthcare organization serving the greater Bangor area, primarily focusing on providing high-quality sexual and reproductive health care through education, advocacy, and clinical service. Their motto on their website is feminist, local, independent. Your support is critical in helping us continue to support the good work of the Mabel Wadsworth Center and our beloved community. The plates will now be passed.
It is with gratitude that we receive this morning's offering to support this beloved community and Mabel Wadsworth Center. Thank you for your generosity.
Our reading this morning is entitled Communion at the BP by Paula Gordon Lepp. Now, for those of you who don't know what a BP is, it's a British Petroleum gas station. We used to have them in this area. It was a little thing, really, this offer to fill my tire. I was unscrewing the valve cap and heard a voice behind me. "Here, I'll get that for you." "Oh, that's okay, I've got it," is what I normally say to such overtures, this knee-jerk reaction to refuse. I am the one who offers to help. I am the one who serves. Perhaps it was the eager spirit of this man on his face and his brown eyes, full of hopeful connection, that caused me to say, "Okay." I felt the vibration of his unspoken benediction. "I can't do much for you, fellow weary traveler, but I can do this. Lay down your burden and I will carry it for a bit." But he couldn't help wonder how many times I have denied someone the blessing of serving because I had been too stubborn to accept their gift. As I was standing there in the sun-drenched gas station parking lot, the hiss and tick of the air pump sounded very much like a psalm. I watched his hands, a few shades lighter than the Goodyear rubber, filling more than just my tire with air, while goodness and grace swirled around us stronger than the fumes of the gasoline. Blessed be.
Wow, Sojourner, you've done it again. One of those pieces that just you have to sit in silence for a moment to be able to really appreciate the contrast, the amazing contrasts and tension and release all wound up in that music. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Mm. In our ongoing efforts to embody our UU values, there are still many skills that we can acquire to deepen our spirituality. These skills deepen our connection to each other and the world that we are part of. They help soften our hearts so that we may be more open to others, open to change, open to opportunities, and open to new ways of thinking and living. One of those practices that many in our community engage in is the spiritual practice of gratitude. Simply noticing, holding, and being present in the various ways of maybe just saying grace before a meal or keeping a gratitude journal, writing down the things that they are grateful for, and reviewing those lists when they're feeling sad or lonely or just plain worn out. We also try to recognize people in our community who do the good work and offer their time, talent, and treasure for the betterment of our congregation. We are grateful to all of you who participate that way. Several of my meditation teachers have suggested that developing a practice of receiving gratitude in the moment is also a skill that we should all work to develop. Pause when someone offers you a kind word or an appreciation, and notice how that appreciation manifests itself in your body, and your mind, and your spirit. The concept might seem simple enough, but I dare you to try it. It might come easy to you, but many of us have been taught that somehow being appreciated is unwholesome or a self-centered activity, which it is not. Now, don't get me wrong, I think that most of us like to be appreciated, but we don't always know what to do with that appreciation. Since I've begun that practice, I've noticed how quickly, when someone offers a compliment, that I just move on to the next thing in my life after a somewhat awkward pause, which is usually very brief. Slowly, however, I am learning to pause and acknowledge that person's appreciation. I pause and I notice how I receive that appreciation. Does it feel good to be appreciated or not? Does it make me feel warm and comfortable inside? Can I accept that appreciation, or do I just brush it off? I could have done better. Or I minimize it. Thanks, it was nothing. Perhaps we ignore it because we're afraid by allowing that appreciation, we feel that we are setting the expectation that we'll have to perform at the same level again in the future. I see some heads nodding. Sometimes we believe that the things for which we are being appreciated are not that important. So we forget how important some of the things that we offer others are important and meaningful to them. Like the young student earlier in our story, where the teacher's simple act of offering her hand might not have been so mindful, it was more automatic, and yet for the student, it was an act of affirmation and security. Or from our reading, the act of filling the writer's tire with air, which was an action that the woman struggled to accept at first, but later became grateful for, because she saw how that was providing somebody an opportunity of a gift to be able to give. What is important here is that gratitude is a practice that helps us open our hearts just a little bit more. Gratitude helps us soften our hearts and become more expansive, allowing us to connect more deeply with other beings. It helps us see the connection and reminds us that we are not alone, and that even the not so great things that are happening to us are still things that we can be grateful for. In Buddhist meditation practice, there are a set of meditation practices called the Brahma Viharas, or the 4 divine abodes or sublime states of being. These practices work much in the same way that gratitude practice does. Practicing and developing these skills helps us soften our hearts, be more open, aware, and present. The 4 Brahma Viharas are also known as the 4 immeasurables. They are metta, which is loving kindness practice, karuna, which is compassion practice, mudita, which is sympathetic joy, and finally upekkha, which is equanimity practice. These sets of practices help us cultivate these traits, which are beneficial in working for the liberating ourselves and for alleviating the suffering caused by greed, hatred, and delusion. They also help one develop skills of concentration on these wholesome states of being, so that we can mindfully use those skills to respond more skillfully and aspire to become more enlightened beings. Last fall, I offered a reflection on metta loving kindness practice as a means of overcoming fear, self-doubt, and anger. Today, I want to delve a little bit into the Brahma Vihara, another Brahma Vihara practice that has a close relationship to gratitude, but it is in the form of appreciation that is more outward-looking. Instead of being grateful for the things that we receive, mudita, or sympathetic joy, is about developing the skill of being happy and joyful for someone else's good fortune. It is a way of joining others in their happiness and good fortune without making it all about ourselves. This practice is something that's slightly countercultural to our mindset in the West. That concept of me and mine that seems to be part of the ethos of our country. It's a practice that helps us neutralize our sense of separateness, and it also helps us guard against the toxicity of greed and jealousy. That's not to say that we don't all have some experience of mudita, but it's something we don't often pay attention to. I think perhaps the closest way that people could relate to this concept of mudita is when parents see their children figure out their way through a difficult place in life by themselves. Yeah? There's a way that you're kind of grateful and happy that those children are doing okay. It's not about me and mine, it's more about an appreciation of joy that comes when we see a loved one experience good fortune. It's interesting how jealousy can show up in so many ways in our culture. I recall a time when someone said to me that they felt resentment after hearing someone else share about the successful achievements of another parent's children. It was hard because the person who heard about the other parent's children's success had children who weren't doing so well on their own at the time. In Buddhist circles, we often refer to this kind of thinking as comparing mind. It is a practice that we all do. We compare ourselves to others and then feel less than. In fact, it is the majority of what happens in our modern advertising industry, right? We see actors on the screen living extraordinarily happy lives, and the subliminal message is twofold. One, we should all be able to live at this level of happiness every 15 minutes when the commercial comes back on, right? And two, we will be able to experience this level of happiness, but only if we use the right product, only if we use the right brand. Unfortunately, happiness does not work that way. Mudita helps us develop the skill of gratitude that looks beyond the comparing mind and helps us create a genuine appreciation for when something wonderful happens to others. It helps us learn the skill of taking joy in others' success, which informs our own sense of well-being. There are so many ways that this can be helpful. First, by separating and differentiating ourselves from others so that we can protect ourselves from the corrosive energy of that comparing mind, but then bringing back when we remind ourselves of what is important, valuable, and true. I was thinking of an example from this last week's news cycle around the government shutdown compromise. Well, there are many reasons that people feel that the compromise that was made came at a very high cost. We can also take a moment to remind ourselves to be happy for the people who once again are receiving food aid, who are struggling with the shutdown and not sure where their next meal is going to come from. Having food on your table, if you've experienced food insecurity, is good fortune. We might be frustrated by some of our leaders, and yet we can be happy and joyful for the people who are not starving or worrying about where their next meal is coming from. This is a both-and situation. The joy of others' good fortune helps us balance the disappointments of not getting our political desires fulfilled or other desires fulfilled. Being able to achieve this balance is the antidote to anger, frustration, or feeling overwhelmed. It helps us overcome what social scientists call the defense mechanism of negativity bias, which is a means that we use to try to survive. We remember the negative things much more clearly than the positive things in our lives. So we need to find ways of being able to balance that out by being grateful for the things we have and also grateful for the good fortune of others. So one of the things that is interesting in the meditation tradition that I practice in is that sometimes teachers talk, but they usually talk after they give people a chance to experience that form of meditation. So I'm going to now invite you to find a place comfortable in your chair. Sit up straight if you can, so your spine is straight. Maybe imagine that you're being pulled up by a string, so that your back is straight, and feet on the ground if you can. And start by just taking a couple deep breaths. Breathe at your own rate, whatever feels like a healthy deep breath for you. And then bring your awareness back to just breathing normally. If you can, breathe in through your nose and out through your nose. If not, just breathe whatever way is most comfortable. As you're doing this, I want you to just take a little time to think of some of the people in your life and think of maybe one person that something has happened to in the last week or 2 weeks that they are particularly grateful for or that they are happy about. It might be a little challenging, maybe a little more challenging than you think, maybe not. Just take a moment. A friend, a family member, someone in the news or someone that you've met who had something positive that they were happy for. Try to picture that person as best you can in your mind's eye, an image of what that person looks like, what it feels like to be in that person's presence. once you have a good image of that person, silently in your mind, I want you to offer these words. May your happiness and good fortune continue. May your happiness and good fortune never wane. May you enjoy your happiness and abundance. I am happy that you are happy. And finally, may your happiness continue to grow. Now, just notice in your own body, in your own being, how you feel after offering those words to another. If we had more time, we would spend a few more rounds of selecting people and offering those words of happiness and support and joining out into larger and larger groups of people until our wishes enfolded the whole world. For now, however, I'm going to give you a moment to just take a couple of deep breaths, and I will sound our singing bowl, and we'll come back into the space together. Spirit of life and love, in this time that we spend together and as we move forward in our lives, may we take time to pause when others offer their gratitude to us and allow that gratitude to settle into us, and let us feel the appreciation that others offer. And just as importantly, let us take time throughout the busyness of our days and the upcoming holiday season to send out our energy and thought and prayer and meditation to others for the happiness that they experience, the beauty and the joy of children playing at Christmas, the wonderful experience of making connections with loved ones that we haven't heard from in a while, and the way that that connection brings them joy as maybe as much as it brings you joy. Maybe it's people who we meet who have gone through some hardship and found their way through. Let our prayers continue to waft into the ether of the universe, knowing that we are connected and that happiness and success of another informs and affects our happiness and all beings' happiness. May this be so. Blessed be. Amen. So I now invite you to join in singing our closing song, hymn, number 124, Be That Guide. As we extinguish our Unitarian Universalist chalice flame, symbol of faith, hope, love, connection, and our ability to be joyful and grateful for other people's good fortune, let us be mindful that although our worship time has come to an end, our service to each other and to the world has just begun. Blessed be. Thank you. I now invite you all to join in singing our benediction.